And welcome, everybody. It is the first Friday night of 2024. How exciting is that? We are 5 days in, and I hope everybody's having a fantastic year. 2024 promises to be so much better than 2023, right? Got a lot of things planned this year already, and I was watching Peter's show and you guys talking about retirement, and I just took off 11 days and was so busy because everybody wants to they know you're off work, and so everybody wants to see you and do stuff with you. And so I was busier those 11 days than I am when I work. So I think retirement will be a very busy time too. So let's see who is here, because it looks like some people are here already. So, Sammy, how you doing, bud? Glad to have you. Hi, Sly. So it was very funny. I hugely enjoyed getting to see you at Peter's. I was kind of curious. We talked a little bit last night, Peter and I, and he told me y'all were coming, and I told him to make his hamburgers a little bit smaller, because yeah, he made like roast burgers when I went to see him. So, but that was cool. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. And Randy's here saying good day, Sly. I think maybe in Texas it would be howdy. Yeah, he's laughing. Oh, foxes and chickens. I got it. Yeah. And Akish, hi. So, excuse me, froggy in my throat. I know I'm butchering your name. Akash. I don't remember how to say it. I think you're one of the ones I bought the camera bag from. Yes? Correct me if I'm wrong. Are you from St. Louis? I think. Welcome. I think this is your first time here, so I'm glad you're here. Roy says retirement is too much work. Yes. If it was anything like the last couple of weeks, man, I was running every day. So yes, it was a lot of work. And Peter's saying, hi, y'all. See, that's more Texas. Okay. Oklahoma, Texas, you know. And there's my buddy Kyle. Hi, Sly. Weather's been ridiculous, ain't it? I tell you what, it's, we're not used to this much cold this soon. Now, Oklahoma gets cold. We deal with it, 30s, 40s. That's fine. But, and then towards the middle end of January and February, we might get some snow. It might get like a little bit colder. But that's about it. We have about 6 weeks of kind of really cold Arctic air. And this year, it got cold like December. Like pretty much at least the last 2 weeks of December have been brutally cold. Down in the 20s at night. And today I think the high was 42. So it's been a challenge. I went and looked at apartments in Tulsa, and wow is all I can say. Now, on two fronts. Number one, I haven't lived in an apartment in 40 years, and they're small. I was even looking at like a 2-bedroom, and they're still small compared to what I'm used to. So, and my gosh, they're so pricey. So we're going to try to tough it out here for a little bit longer. We are putting in a second heater tomorrow, and hope that'll help. Putting in some more insulation, and hopefully that'll help. If it gets too cold, I will come stay with my son. But I'm going to try to weather it out here for as long as I can. And Sammy's saying hey to Peter. That's just so cool that everybody knows everybody. It really, I think it's a fun place to be. Makes it a fun place to be. So, you know how I love bags, but I like to buy kind of techie toys too. And so this week, it's not an expensive techie toy. It's not like a camera or anything like that. But, so I got this thing, and I kind of tried to see if I could show it to you, and it without turning everything off, you can't see it because there's too much light on me. So I don't know if I could like put it in the background maybe, but we'll see. Anyway, it is called a static. It's a phone charger. It's a cable, right? But it's actually a really cool cable. And I really, really want to show it to you. So, now I have a ridiculously thick case on my phone because I'm kind of a klutz. And so it's like an OtterBox knockoff, but it's really thick. So for anything that I want to plug in my phone, I have to use one of these extenders. But you just plug this thing into, but now if I can unplug it. And it comes with of course, the iPhone, there we go. It comes with these little bitty, teeny tiny little things. This one's for the iPhone. It comes with a USB-C and I believe a micro USB, the little bitty one. And then, there went that. It's a magnet. You know, I love my magnets. Isn't that cool? It's a magnet. And it swivels. So that's kind of cool too. I don't know. Let me get back here where it's a little darker and see if I can show this to you because it is so cool looking. Like, forget boys and their toys. Girls like toys too. And trains. Okay. Oh yeah, there you go. Now you can kind of see it a little bit. Get it kind of, can you see it running a little bit there? Just a little bit. Anyway, really, really cool. One of the boys at work had one, and I'm like, ah, what is that? Must have. And so yeah. Anyway, it's called a static, and super super cool. For you people that like kind of cool techie looking things, it's really cool. It looks like liquid is running through the cable, neon colored liquid. So that's so cool thing for the week. Okay. Roy says moving is even more work than retirement. Well, Roy, I will not be moving myself. Yes, my next move will be hired out. So I have done my last move, thank you very much, 10 years ago. So, yeah, next move will be moving people who are strapping young men, and they can pick up a couch and just carry it out. And yeah, not me. And Peter's saying hi to everybody. And Jim Mundy is here. Racer lights on your phone cord. Love it. Yeah, it is. That's like, you guys are gonna think I'm such a dork, but I plug my phone in just to watch it. It's just mesmerizing. It's so cool. Like, and then they'll shut off at some point. And so I'll wake my phone up just so it starts doing it again. It doesn't take much to keep Sly entertained, okay? That's all I'm saying. But that was that's my techie thing for the moment. You know, I do kind of like tech things. So, Roy says, last move, my A2 printer didn't survive the move. Aw, that's sad. Now, as far as the computer equipment, yes, I would move that myself. And the cameras and all that. Pretty much all that. Anything. But as far as the refrigerator and the couch and recliners and beds and dressers and hutches and no, I'm not doing that again. Yeah, that's so there is a lot to moving. You know, the first time I moved, I had an apartment when I was 18, 17, 18, something like that. And the first time I moved out of that apartment, I could get everything I own in a pickup truck. I didn't own a lot, right? The last time I moved 10 years ago, it took not one, but two of the biggest U-Hauls they have. The one that's supposed to move like a 6-bedroom house. Yeah, I had to have two. Now, it could have been that we are not expert packers and we didn't know how to pack it right. But in 10 years, I've accumulated more stuff. So, yeah. No, I would not move myself. Those days are gone. There's Suey. I was with you the last move. No, thank you. I am retired from moving. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, she was. She was there every step of the way. And I think she will agree with me. It is well worth the money to pay somebody. Now, like I said, the little stuff, yeah, I don't have a problem with that. But the big stuff, and Sammy says, "Oh wow, yeah, a lot has changed. You acquire a lot of stuff, so it's kind of there's a what's it called? Highlander, I think is the name of a movie, and this guy is immortal, lives forever, and they do this in the vampire movies too. They are usually pretty well off because they have been around forever, and the longer you live, the more you accumulate. I have not figured out how to be a minimalist. My daughter keeps trying to be one, and she has a 4-year-old, so she keeps acquiring more toys. And then, you know, if he gets a toy, she wants something, and so she's not doing well with that minimalist thing. But yeah, and you know, every time I move, which is about every 10 years, I have a huge garage sale. I get rid of a ton of stuff, and I acquire it all back up again. So yeah, what is up with that? I don't know. And there's Luis. Hi everyone. How are you, sir? Caught the replay. Saturdays are just that's kind of like my Sunday before, because I go back to work on Sundays, and so Saturday nights I'm usually trying to get all my last minute stuff done, and the last 2 Saturdays I have not made it. I think one of those Saturdays I was on vacation, so I was playing cards one of those Saturdays and didn't get home till late, and Saturdays are hard for me. But I do watch the replay, so yay for replays. Roy says 2 U-Hauls for the camera gear and bags, but what about everything else? Yeah, I would make trip. I would just put everything in my little truck, and the computers would probably take a couple of trips, just because the monitors. Let me rephrase that. The computers would. The monitors would probably take a couple of trips. But, yeah, all this big stuff. Now, that's another thing, though, is when you're in your 20s, you don't have that much stuff. And so you can, and you're young and energetic and full of vim and vigor, and so you don't mind moving stuff. But as you get older, yeah, it's not so easy on the back, and it's just, for me, it's just easier to write out a check. Here you go. Yeah. So that's definitely, and then I can just point, put a blanket on that. You need to cover that. You need to strap that down better. I can just straw boss. I'm pretty good at straw bossing. Not really, but I've got a really good friend who is. And she would come down to straw boss. She may not come down to lift a couch again, but she would come down to straw boss. So yeah, I'm covered. But I've actually got it to where, and I was kind of waiting to see um, if the gas bill was going to offset uh, rent, right? Because if I'm going to have a $600 gas bill, then I might as well just pay rent. But holy cow, uh, rent has gone up, right? Now, I knew from my kids, they both rent places. So I knew ballpark. Well, the housing market has gone through the roof, and so the rent has too. And to give you an example, my son had both my kids have 2 bedrooms. Um, my son, I believe, is paying $850 a month. He's in a duplex, and the person on the other side is moving out. So I said, hey, see what he's going to rent it out for, and because that would be super handy having my son right next door, and he's from 850 to 1200. He's jumping it that much, and I don't want to spend 1200 a month on that. I'd rather buy toys. So Susan says, you got that right. Yeah, yeah. He's she's in the process of trying to find a place too and move. Um, and I think she's probably going to hire a couple of strapping young men to do her moving too. So I will come help and do whatever I can, but not lifting those couches and refrigerators and all that good stuff. So hopefully she may sell her appliances and stuff with her house. I don't know. I think that's definitely the way to go, is sell appliances, and then when you get to your new place, buy for the new place, right? So anyway, 2024 is going to be an exciting year. It's going to have a lot of changes, I think, which people in general are resistant to change, but I kind of look forward to change because it means something's happening. And I know this is a corny old saying, but God put eyes in the front of our face so we can look forward, not backwards. So I'm hugely looking forward to this year. But lots more bags. If you guys have anything you want me to review, I will try to find it and do it. I'm actually been hugely impressed with the National Geographic bags from Manfrotto. I'm thinking I need to get a Manfrotto bag in here and see if did they up the quality for National Geographic, or is that just how they make their bags? Because I've got 3 now, and I haven't even put out the last one. It's a sling bag, camera bag. It's small. It's not very big. But the African series, the Rain, no, what was the other one? The Maui, and now the Rainforest. I've been super impressed with all those. So, oh, I did get another. Well, I've had those for a minute, but I do use these a lot. And you guys are probably, oh yeah, we know all about those. These they're little levels for your camera, and they're super cool. The last time I ordered them, I think you got 2 in a package or something like that. This time they came like 12 in a package. But, and I don't know if you can even see it. Maybe if I hold it in front of my, yeah. So it's just a little level that goes in your hot shoe. Or, I guess you could put it in a cold shoe too. It doesn't really matter. But it tells you if your camera is level or off a little bit, or so it's wonderful for, there's a waterfall thing that I like to go up when I'm testing out cameras, and I tried to do the Osmo 4 and I couldn't go up there because they were setting up lights for the Christmas thing. But it's, when you set the tripod up, it's on a hill, kind of a pretty steep hill. And so that tells you if your camera is level, even though your tripod has got one leg lower than the other, because you're on the side of a hill. So they come in really handy. I use them all the time. Roy says, Manfrotto gear isn't cheap, but it's well made. Love their tripods and studio gear. Well, I've been looking because, you know, I like thin. I don't like the ones that are really thick. That last one, that K&F, that is a really thick bag. I mean, you can turn the camera on its side and there's still room above it. So I don't know how deep it is, but it's a really deep bag. But Manfrotto has one that's called, I believe it's called a Slim Street or a Street Slim, and it's only like 5 inches deep, which I haven't measured my cameras, but I don't think they're 5 inches. Nah. 4 maybe. They're not big. So, did have a little faux pas at Christmas. Actually had 2, and I went back and watched the footage today. That tells you how busy I've been. Today's January 5th. So, what, 10 days from Christmas? I'm just now getting to watch the footage. The M6 card filled up before the battery ran out. And it was a 64 megabyte card. So, I'm thinking that card may be defective. And when I put it in the card reader, it said it was full. And it only had 23 minutes on it. So, yeah, there's something amiss with that card. The action camera, it did overheat, but it ran an hour and 23 minutes before it overheated. So, which it could get that, and it was hot. It was hot to the touch, but it could get that. You know, I haven't had that camera long enough to know what it says when the battery's depleted. So it was time to change the battery anyway. And, but yeah, I had to turn it off and let it cool down for a little bit. It was the saving grace. It saved the Christmas video, because I had the action camera set up like facing everybody. And then I had the M6 off in a corner, just kind of taking in the whole room. And so we had the M6 mic'd up and everything, and I would have been really disappointed if that was the only camera I had up, because we lost that. So, and there's way too much going on when everybody's opening gifts and stuff to be checking the camera all the time. That's probably what I should have been doing, but it was Christmas morning. And yeah, so the action camera saved the day. I've got enough footage on it to, I make little videos for the family, and I've got enough footage on that to make a full video. So, thank you, Jesus. I was very happy about that. There are many fake cards too. Well, that's true. And one thing I noticed, I had gotten a batch of new cards, my old cards, I believe they're 180s. I already got them put up, but I'm thinking the old ones are 180 and the new ones are 200s. Now you got me wondering, Roy. Uh, and this was one of the new ones. So, uh, 170. Yeah, 170 and the new ones are 200. So, I've never, ever, ever had a problem with the 170s. So we'll see. I'll probably do just a test run where I just set it up and just let it, record for whatever. Because I bought like four, I think, of the. I didn't know they were different, but in fact, it said previously purchased. So I think SanDisk just upgraded and is selling them for the same thing as the 170s, but now they're 200 megabytes per second. Is that right? Am I saying that right? I may be saying that completely wrong. And that's so little I can't read it. But anyway, they're the Extreme Pro. So this is an old card, and this is the new card. So let's see if I can get those. If they will focus, 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 focus. Why is it not wanting to focus? It's not going to do it, is it? Nope, not going to do it. Okay. Well, anyway, the only thing different on these two cards is the megabytes per second. Everything else is identical, but it was one of the new cards. So, yeah, we'll have to investigate that a little bit more. Probably should have done it before Christmas. You know what I'm saying? But I've never been one to be ultra prepared. So, we'll check that out. I also got some micro SD cards that were SanDisk, and normally I don't. Normally I use Samsung for the micro SD, and I've never had a problem with any of the Samsungs. And I know Luis likes Lexar, I think. So I may switch over and try some of those. And if the 200s are, if maybe I just got a bad batch. I don't know. I've never had the camera do that before. But I've always I haven't had the M6 Mark IIs that long, and I've always been holding them. So if something were to go amiss, I'm pretty much aware of it pretty soon as it does it. So with it just sitting up in a corner doing its own thing, I missed it. Whatever it was that it didn't like, I didn't catch it. So yeah, we'll do a little more research into that and try to find out, what was going on with that. Lexar are much better these days. Are they? I mean, which do you like better, Roy? Lexar or SanDisk? Because I think they're very, very comparable in price, so that's not really an issue. So, and I do like to have a lot of SD cards because I don't always get to my editing as quickly as I should. Like I said, it's been 10 days since Christmas, and I just now got to watch that today. So, yeah, it's but you know, I'm a busy person, and I think if and when I retire, I'm going to be even busier. So my hat's off to all you people who know how to manage retirement. Okay, that's I don't think that's something that I've mastered yet. So, and a huge shout out, thank you to everyone who contributed Christmas gifts. Uh, much appreciated. Thank you very much. So I don't know what I'm going to get yet, but it'll be something. I'm sure it'll be something to review. So if any of you guys have something you want reviewed, just let me know. Roy says, oh, well, Miss Lewis says, I have both. I just get the best deal available of either brand. Yeah, that's kind of, well, I just have always shot SanDisk. That's just what I've always bought. But I might switch if if the new ones are gonna give me problems. Roy says I like SanDisk better than Lexar, Samsung more than SanDisk, and Delphin even more. Okay, well that's a new name. I don't know where my little notebook is. I'd write that down because I promise you I won't remember that. I'll be looking for it and I'll type in Dolphin or something. And you know, that's one thing. I turn all these lights on, get everything ready, and I mean to have a notebook so I can write this stuff down because you guys are a wealth of knowledge. Delkin. Okay, thank you, Roy, because I would have been looking up Dolphin. Yeah. Did I put that up there? I don't know if I did or not. Okay. SanDisk better than Lexar, Samsung more than SanDisk, and Delkin even more. Okay. I'll have to check into Delkin. Is that something I've never seen? That may be an Australia thing. And I do have a question for you Aussie boys. And Louis says Samsung is underrated. So for all my micro SD stuff, the dash cam in my truck, and all these action cameras, I almost exclusively use Samsung, and I've never had a problem. So I do have a couple of the SanDisk from like way early, like when I first got the first Osmo Action. But I pretty much have switched over completely to Samsung for the micro SD. And I still use the SanDisk for the regular SD card. So Delkin is better known amongst the pro photographers. Okay. So they're probably a little bit more expensive. But I would rather pay a few dollars more and not have to worry about missing a Christmas video. But so this is not the first time. I can't remember now that it was when I had the 90D. I lost a Christmas video, and I was very upset. It recorded half, and then it shut down, and I just reached up and hit record again, and for some reason it wrote over the file. So, yeah, so we lost half of Christmas that year. But, you know. Louis says, me too. Samsung for my micro SDs. Yeah, they're hard to beat. They're not expensive, and I usually buy 4 or 5 at a time. And just so I have spares all the time. I think I've got everything put up and cleaned up. I did get a chance to clean my desk area, which yay. So that was one of the things that I wanted to accomplish while it was off, because it was starting to pile up and encroach, and so I did get a chance to clean that up. But you know, it's just when you, and I only work 3 or 4 days a week, so it's not like I'm, you know, 5 days a week and only have 2 days off. But because I work overnights, the first day off is a transition day, and I sleep a lot trying to get, and then I'll get up like at 4 in the morning and start my Fridays at like 4 in the morning and maybe take a little nap or something. But so Thursday is usually a transition day. Where's Randy? Randy says, I own a Delkin CF Express Type B and SD cards. They're great and don't overheat. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking might have happened. Roy says, I had a jar of failed SD cards, but I'm still waiting for a CF Express or XQD to fail. Really? And so when they fail, what message do you get on the camera? 1 terabyte of micro SD cards. I don't know. I probably, because now the micro SDs that I run are 128s. And so I have a bucket load of them, but what does it take? 10 of those to make a terabyte? So yeah, they weren't even like halfway full. Now I was recording everything in 1080 30. So the M6 should not have been anywhere close to full. That was a 64 gigabyte card. So that shouldn't have been anywhere close to being full after, what, 20 minutes? But 'tis what it is. Now, see here, I'm not recording to a card. So I have never had a problem. And on the Mac, I've had to put everything on the... What do I have? I have a 1 terabyte M2. They call it an external drive, but it's in the hub, and it's like you mount it in the hub. So, but it's called an external drive. So, but I'm running everything off that because the 256 in the Mac is full. So, and I've taken everything I can think to take off of it. So, and it still says it's too full to do anything with. So, I'm running everything off that 1 terabyte. Yes. I can figure some of this stuff out, but I'm not very fluid at talking about it. Rose says, I buy 12 at a time and format each one, not quick format, just to make sure. Okay. So, I have been doing the quick formats. So, maybe that's where I'm screwing up. Because I do format them before I use them. Randy says I own 4 of them from SanDisk. The 1 terabyte. Okay, so I know for the action cameras, I think, don't quote me on this. I think there's a limit. I think 128. I know for the dash cam in my truck, 128 is the maximum. So I don't know why. I don't know why it would matter. But that is set up on a loop, because that 128 gigabyte is a lot, and if you have to go back and look at something on a dash cam that's further back than 128, you're doing something wrong, because I'm thinking that would be several days worth of filming. And the camera in the truck actually does remarkably well. It does every bit as good as the Osmo Action. In fact, for low light, it's actually a little bit better. But the footage I've gotten off of it is really nice, and it has a few features. Like if my truck were to get bumped, like let's say it's turned off, it's sitting in a parking lot, I'm in the store. If somebody were to bump it, it takes 10 seconds before it got bumped, and it records that, and so you can see who bumped you. Um, if you're in a there's a little button that I've got mounted up on the console up top, and if you want to, I don't know, record something specific, you tap that button and it records the 10 seconds before and then the 10 seconds after you push the button. So 20 seconds, I guess. And it saves that separate. It takes that out of the loop and saves that separate. So uh, it's kind of a nice feature. I don't check it very often, but you know. Sometimes the only time you know a card has failed is when you try to read it. Okay. Yeah, that's... And then whatever it was that you were, you know, you've lost whatever you were trying to record, so, yeah. Roy says, always give the camera time to write to the card when you turn it off. Well, I didn't turn it off. It turned itself off. So, there's that. But I ended up with 23 minutes on the M6, and I got a couple hours worth, I think, on the action camera. So, and the internal recording is not as good as far as the sound quality, but it was acceptable, so I can live with that. And you know, Christmas time, you got everybody talking, and little man is like, you know, constantly, do I have any more presents, and are there any more presents with my name on it? And, you know, so you've got this person talking to this person and this person talking over this person, so it's chaos. And so the microphone actually probably was better not picking up as much as the microphones we were wearing, because I think they would have maybe picked up too much. So it worked out, you know. Randy says, I have done 1 terabyte micro SD cards can do 4K. Okay, yes. So, excuse me 1 second. So, one time, Randy, I went kayaking and I had one camera set to 1080p 30 and the other one set to 4K 30, unbeknownst to me. I thought they were both set on 1080, and my goodness, the amount of space, and at least on the original Osmos, the 1080 files go like a long time. Actually, I don't think they ever, well, no, because I have changed the battery. So on the original Osmo Action, the battery depletes before it changes files. Like, it never changes file. On the new one, in 4K, every 15 minutes it was writing a new file. So there was like 16 compared to 3, I think, or so. It was some ridiculous number, and I didn't realize it was on 4K, and you couldn't tell a hill of beans of difference. You know, with a 1-inch sensor, I think 4K is like overkill, but so 1080 works fine for me. Roy says quick format doesn't actually format, it just rewrites the file table. Oh. I'm going to have to go back and redo those then. Gotcha. Peter says, tell the 90D story you have about the card in that camera. So, yeah, that was the Christmas where it shut off after 30 minutes, which is, that's fine. And so I got up and just hit record again, and I lost the first half. So apparently it either wrote over the first half or it just lost it. Uh, Never did find out. But apparently that camera had some issues anyway. So kind of good riddance on that. Randy says, I run Ecamm Live, compresses the 4K file very well. I would rather have the 4K than 1080, but I do not use the Osmo or the GoPro. Right. Yeah, it was just something new to me because the original Osmo doesn't do that. Now, I don't think that I've ever tried to record in 4K on purpose. So, but I can go all day, and however many times I change the battery, that's the only time it starts a new file. I have like 2 mounts on the kayak, one in the front, one behind me, and I just leave the cameras running the whole time. And they run for about an hour before you have to replenish the battery. And so obviously when you take the battery out, you have to turn it off and restart it. And so your files are like for that full hour. The 4, it was in 4K, it all by its little self, it started a new file I think it was 15 minutes. And so I had all these files compared to, I think it was 3 for the same time period. So it must have been like a 3-hour tour or something, but which would be about right because I think we were on the water for about 3 hours that day. So I was just kind of blown away. Now, when you say Ecamm Live compresses the 4K file, how are you getting the file into Ecamm Live? From the card reader. Yeah, I don't know how that would work. So you'll have to teach me. You have to school me on that one, Randy. Because I'm not really up to speed on all that. I just pat myself on the back when I can get all this up and running. So, but I will look into that Delkin, and if they're not stupid expensive, I may pick up some of those. I just want something to work. And if the SanDisk, if I got a bad run, I may have just gotten a bad run of them. I think I bought 4 at the same time. And that is kind of my luck. Like I bought a Ceramonic microphone, and it had a bad, either a transmitter or receiver was bad. Okay, so I called Amazon. They sent me another one, and it was a different component in the second one that was bad. And so because I still hadn't sent the first set back yet, I took pieces of the first set and mixed them with pieces of the second set to get one good set. And there was still a lot of noise. So eventually I sent both sets back, but it was just a bad run of them. So, that happens. You just wait until they get through all those, and then it was the white ones. Now Peter has a black one, and he doesn't have any problem with his, but I just got a bad run of them. It happens. Roy says, don't buy SanDisk from Amazon, too many fakes. that's exactly where I've been getting them. Yeah, so I appreciate that. I think the last Samsung micro SDs I bought off Samsung, but I usually get them from Adorama because Adorama puts them on sale and they'll ship them. I think if you buy, I think it's 4, they ship them for free. So it's kind of a no-brainer. They're cheaper than they are on Amazon, and now they're not on sale all the time, but Adorama will alert me they're having a sale, and they're usually, when they're on sale, they're usually $10 or $11. I think I've gotten them as low as 8 before. So when they're on sale, I usually buy 4, 5, 6, something like that. But so I have a drawer full of unopened ones. And if I'm going somewhere like Christmas, I pull out a brand new fresh one, format it, and should be good to go, is my thought process. But apparently I wasn't. So there's that. But, you know, it happens. And it's usually at Christmas when it happens because I'm not paying attention to the camera. I just set it up and just let it go, and that's usually when the problems happen. So, but I am taking, I'm doing more traveling this year. I've already got a cruise lined up. Little man and I are going to go. We've got 2 trips lined up. I kind of got chastised for mentioning where we were going. So I am not supposed to mention where we're going until we've come back. So I do try to honor my daughter's wishes where her son is involved. The videos with the guys today actually used both of the Ceramonics, one on each, and I used the wire mic. How was the sound? It sounded really good. I was listening while I was trying to get everything turned on, but it sounded really good. And I think I got everything turned on. Yeah, I think I did. Looks a little dark back there, but it's close enough. I had one lady watch the live after the fact, and she said, "Did you know you were on fire?" And I'm like, it's a candle. It's actually a smell good candle. I like candles. What can I say? Roy says, I write the date that I start using the card on the back and discard them after about 12 months. Avoid the risk. Okay. That's a really good idea. So, Luis had another good idea with, I think he was talking about batteries, but I started doing it with my SD cards. Is you take that medical tape that's kind of transparent, and you label your batteries so that you rotate them. And I started doing that with the SD cards. And now I did not with the ones I just opened. I haven't done it yet. But a lot of my SD cards will have numbers on them, but I have never put a date on one. So that's a really good point, Roy, because some of those cards are getting 3 or 4 years old. So good point. Rainey said, I had a friend's card deteriorate in his camera. It came out in pieces. Wow, how would you know if you got all the pieces? That would bother me. Randy says, yeah, light my fire. Yeah, I believe that was a Fifth Dimension song? It was somebody. I can hear it in my head. I am not going to sing. I can hear it in my head. And Louise is saying, yeah, the number system, right? It because I have so many batteries for the for everything, right? Because I'm kind of a battery fiend. It works really incredibly well. Now, the action camera, you can charge 3 at a time on both action cameras. The the M6s you can charge 2 at a time. And I'll rotate. So I'm never using one battery over and over and over again. So, yeah, you came up with that probably a couple of years ago or longer. And I'm like, ooh, I like that idea. That's a fantastic idea. The doors. Okay. Yeah, see, Kyle got it right off the bat. The doors. Yep. Come on, baby, light my fire. I can hear Peter singing. All the way from Oklahoma to Florida. I can hear Peter singing. Yep. Yeah, I now it's gonna be stuck in my head. Thanks, Randy. Appreciate that. So what are we up to? Hey, that's cool. I got 7 thumbs up. That's awesome. You got it, Kyle. Man, you're pretty smart. Yep. He is. So Kyle, this is for you. Peter was telling me about your new interest in trains. And because now I wasn't old at the time, but I don't know. I didn't want to be on the floor all the time. And so when my son got into trains, I built a train table. And all in the world it was a 4x8 sheet of plywood with 1x's around it and 4x4 for the legs. And I made it, at the time he was like 3, I think, 3 or 4. And so I made it to where he could stand in front of the train table and reach everything, but it was up off the ground. We have a restaurant in Tulsa called Ollie's, and it's I think it's called Ollie's Train Station. It's just a diner, but the man who started it, and of course I think he may be dead now because it's been a minute, but he put trains all around the ceiling, like up close to the ceiling of the whole restaurant. And then he's got a huge glassed in case that's got, and it's probably, when I say huge, it's probably 8 feet by 16 feet. It's big. And it's a whole train scene, like it goes through towns and it goes over mountains, and it's a whole thing. And so the kids, and he's got a bench in front of this glass thing, and the kids can stand up there and watch these trains go, all the way around. And then the one that goes around the top, it goes constantly. So super, super cool. I used to take my son there, and it's in West Tulsa, which if you're not familiar with Tulsa, you won't know what I'm talking about. But the train tracks are in West Tulsa. So Tulsa used to be a hub for train freight, and I don't know if they still are, but an amazing amount of train freight passes through Tulsa. So and it all goes right by this restaurant. So it's really a cool thing for anybody into trains. So if you ever get to Tulsa, Kyle, you got to go to Ollie's. Randy's saying no problem. Yeah. Kyle saying, I love old music. I think you're an old soul, Kyle. There's Scott. Oops, just woke up. Hi, gang. Well, were you taking a little nap? A little siesta? I am really so grateful not to be in Michigan right now. I have so much more respect for you Northerners now that we have had this unhealthy dose of Arctic air for way longer than we should have. Oklahoma's pretty far south. Like, the only thing between us and Mexico is Texas. So we are not supposed to be getting this cold weather. Peter's laughing at Scott, saying You're hilarious. Now you'll be up all night long. I think Scott kind of is up all night long anyway. He just takes little cat naps. And Susan says the Tinfoil Hat Club says that Jim Morrison is Rush Limbaugh. Okay, that's really funny. Sorry. Kyle says Lionel has a video on how to build a train table thing. They use 4x8 plywood and 8-foot long 2x4s. Okay, so the 2x4s for your border might be a bit much. I would go with a 1x4, and then just stain everything, because so they have these mats that you can get, but they also have this. It comes in a bag, and I can't remember what it's called. It's not peat moss, but it's kind of like peat moss, and you can put that down for your grass. But if you stain the train table instead of paint it, and you miss a spot, it just looks like woods. So, yeah, looks really good. Peter says, I want to see that restaurant. Sounds outrageously good. So the food is okay. It's not, you would not go there for the food. You go there for the trains. Yeah. And soundboard. Okay. I could kind of see that maybe. That we never had any issues with the sound, so that was not really a consideration. But yeah, and that's just me. You know, 4x8 for the plywood. I think I used 1/2 inch, and then I used 4x4s for the legs, and then a 1x4 for the border. And I don't know what happened to that little train table. I don't have the table anymore. I still have the train set. Peter says, I want to see what Kyle creates. It'll probably come out pretty awesome. Yeah, I'm thinking it will too. Because he's got the time to really make it awesome. So, yeah, I'm thinking, I hope you document it, Kyle, because a lot of people would be very interested in seeing those videos. Excuse me. Randy says, White Spot in Denver, Colorado restaurant have the train go around the whole eating area near the ceiling. Yeah, that is, it just gives you something to look at while you're eating. Now, for a 3 or 4-year-old, it's very distracting because they want to watch the trains instead of sitting down to eat. But as an adult, I just thought it was pretty cool to take a bite and watch the trains. Yes, I'm kind of a nerd. Randy says to Scott, so you ate our meal tonight and fell asleep. That's okay. I do it all the time. Yeah. So my kids have told me that my circadian rhythm is all messed up because I keep trying to go back and forth between being a night person and a day person. And I have noticed that when people do overnights for any length of time, they usually they give up on trying to make the transition. But I can't give up because my kids, my grandson, are daytime people. So, I don't know what time my son's coming down tomorrow to help with the heater, but I can promise you he goes to bed pretty early. He gets up at like 5:30 to go to the gym and work out because he's crazy, but he goes to bed reasonably early, so I don't think he's going to be down here real late. Roy says it's 35 degrees Celsius here right now. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. My chart is wrong. I think 35 is fairly warm. I think. Not 100% sure. Where was I? Forgot my stars. That's funny, Randy. Peter says, curious, what is soundboard? Dampening board. And Scott says, yep, cat naps for me. I would love a normal sleep schedule. We've had a very mild winter so far. Seriously? No snow here either. That could change very quickly. Scott, it has been stupid cold here. And we're not used to it, right? If we have 6 weeks of winter, that's winter. And if we're on track to what we have been, it's going to be 3 months of cold. So, yeah. Randy says 35 is 95 here. So, hot. Very hot. I would love some of that hot. Thank you. And Roy's talking to Randy saying 95 isn't that hot yet. Summer is late this year. Summer is late this year. Wow. Yeah. Okay, Roy. So my son and I were talking today about, we have these really strange conversations. But anyway, he saw a documentary where they're bringing extinct animals back, like reintroducing, like in Oklahoma, they're reintroducing the black bear, and which, because of the ecosystem, right? Things are supposed to have a natural predator, and the deer population got completely out of control because they took away the wolves and the bears and there was no natural predator, right? So places are starting to reintroduce animals that they previously had tried to get rid of because of that. Well, he said, and I found this very interesting, and I told him I was going to ask you, that Australia had an issue with some kind of insect. And so they brought all these birds in. And the birds did their job. They got rid of the insects, but the birds became overpopulated. So they brought all these cats in. And the cats did their job, but now the birds aren't the problem anymore, but now the cats are. And so people hunt cats. Is that honestly a thing? And he said, yeah, you'll see pictures of people holding up dead cats that they've shot. Is that really a thing in Australia? That people hunt like house cats? Or was he just like, was somebody just like pulling his leg? Because, yeah, okay. Scott says, yes, Randy, chicken wings. We had chicken wings for dinner. I'm trying to think. I haven't had dinner yet. Okay. Yeah. So, Peter, I made that corn last night. I found some Mexican street corn for the air fryer. And I'm a pretty fair cook in the air fryer. Okay. I'm not a good cook. Let's start by saying that. I am not a good cook, never will be, have zero interest in it, but I'm pretty fair in the air fryer. And so when I saw this Mexican street corn made for the air fryer, I jumped on it. And Peter, I don't think you'd like it. It's very spicy. So, Kyle's saying, hopefully I can get my ogre. Get my ogre? Are you going to put an ogre with your train set? That would be cool. Randy says, we had 117 degrees earlier this year in San Antonio. What I wouldn't give for just a day or two of that right now. Right? I don't know if you guys, the only way I can kind of explain it is if you've ever walked into a walk-in freezer, like in a restaurant, those, if you've ever worked in a restaurant, those big walk-in refrigerators, not freezer, refrigerators, um, and stay in there for any length of time. That is more than half of my house right now. So we've got the heater in the bedroom part, and as you can see, I'm trying to run the heater. I've got a little fireplace heater behind me, but the electric is so bad in this house, you have to turn everything off. And I think I have enough off. I haven't blown anything yet, but I don't know how long it'll last. So, in fact, I probably should turn that off before I do lose you guys. So he is coming down tomorrow to put another one of these heaters down at the other end of the house so we can try to keep the kitchen from freezing, right? It's supposed to get ridiculously cold next Friday, like 25 for the high. So, yeah. So we wanted to make sure and do it this weekend instead of trying to scramble. But it's like the tops of my legs, and it's like I'm in a walk-in refrigerator, right? It's a little chilly. Roy says, we have a steam train up the road. Great restaurants at the other end of the line. Just need to work out how to get the wife on it. Oh, I would love, love, love that. We have one in Fort Smith, I believe, Arkansas, which is like a little over an hour from here. The problem is I'm not really an early morning person, and it leaves at like 8 o'clock in the morning. And it takes you, I don't know how far it takes you, but it's an all-day thing. So I guess it probably takes you 4 hours out, and then you stop and have lunch, and then 4 hours back. Because it leaves at 8 and it comes back at like 4:30. So it's an all-day thing, the train ride. But you go through these really quite pretty mountains. It's very picturesque, and it's an old steam engine. So I really, really want to do that, but I'm going to have to figure out, number one, how to be there that early and not just want to sleep the whole train ride. I would think a train ride would be very relaxing and kind of lull you to sleep, but, you know. Raina says, we have not had a freeze this year. Oh, we have. Yeah. But Randy, you're a lot further south than I am. I think Peter's even further south than you are. But we have had a lot of freeze so far. Like the plants and stuff, if you didn't bring them in, you've already lost them. So, because we've had several nights where it has been in the 20s. That's a little bit chilly. Now, on the good news, on the good side of all this, is this house has central heat and air, and the motherboard went out, and y'all know that story. It's such an antiquated system that my electric bill and my gas bill combined would be about $600 a month. And running this little heater, which so far it's holding its own to heat the bedroom and the office reasonably well, but to run this little heater, it was only $140. So, and it has been cold. So that's 2 thumbs up right there. Scott says, I've been a working musician for over 30 years, getting home around 2 a.m. Yeah, that has conditioned me to nights. Yes, it's, so when I went to overnights, it wasn't that big of a stretch because for 8.5 years I worked until 10 or 11, and when I come home, I would stay up for 3 or 4 hours, so I wasn't going to bed anyway until 2 or 3, And so it just moved it back a few hours was all. It really, that was not a hard transition. Um, Being somewhere at 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning is more of a challenge. So, Roy says, I'd love to see snow again. Haven't seen it since I was last in Europe. So we actually had like an hour of snow this morning. It didn't stick, and I think it was like 38 degrees outside, so it didn't do anything. It was pretty to watch it fall, but yeah, as soon as it fell, it pretty much melted. How cold at night in Oklahoma? So, I'll just tell you, because it's pretty much night, right? It is 38 degrees right now. It's going to get down to 32 tonight. But next Friday, 18. So it's steadily going to get colder this week with a little bit of snow on Tuesday. And then next Friday is supposed to get down to 18. Next Saturday, 13. Sunday is 16. So this little heater I have absolutely will not keep up. And honestly, when it gets down to, I think 17 was the number the last couple of years, when it got down to 17 degrees, the water line between the meter and the house freezes under the ground. So once I lose water, I'm pretty much done. Yeah, I won't try to stay here if I don't have water. One year, the first time it happened, I tried to stay here like 2 days, and it was snowed, and so I would try to melt snow, just so I could flush the toilet. And a 5-gallon bucket of snow, packed down as firm as you can get it, results in about 1.5 gallons of water. So, and when you pack it like that, it doesn't melt. And so it would take all day for this 5-gallon bucket to turn into water. It was a mess. It was just, yeah. So when I lose water, I'm done. And you can have it drip, I guess. But I guess the pipe must be too close to the surface. It's supposed to be 18 inches or below, but I think it must be too close to the surface. So, Peter says, we went down in the 50s here. How crazy, right? So, yeah, if it got down, if all I had to deal with was the 50s, I would have no worries whatsoever. Like, I would be in a t-shirt, right? Cal says, hopefully I can get my workaholic ogre of a best friend to help me. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, Kyle, I built that by myself. So, all you need is patience. And if you mess up, it's okay. There's nobody there to tell you messed up. Okay? Just redo it. It's not a big deal. It's a hobby. It's not the end of the world. Just redo it. So, I don't want to hear you coming down on yourself because you cut something too short or you mess something up. Don't worry about it. Roy says, I read that returning wolves to Colorado even changed the flow of the rivers. The rivers tend to change their course anyway. So, but yeah, they... I love you, Roy. Birds and cats sound like fertilizer. So are they hunting cats? Because that made me chuckle. I'm up to 5 strays now. So, yeah, I'm feeding 5 cats. Which, it's been really cold and I feel really bad because they come up and they follow me up the porch and meow, meow. And so, I feel bad for them. But, Yeah, I'm up to 5. Scott says probably feral cats being hunted, not good pets. Yeah, I mean they are feral, but can you imagine hunting feral cats in the U.S.? I don't think that would be a thing. I'm 100% sure the left wingers would have a field day with that one. I mean they're upset. So in our history, not the white man's history, but the Indian man's history, and Oklahoma is Indian territory. So we used to have like millions of buffalo, and the Indians, when they killed a buffalo, they ate the meat, they used the hide. I mean, they used every bit of the buffalo for something, whether it was clothing, teepees, food, whatever. Well, apparently now there's a group in California that think that that was abhorrent, that they would kill and eat buffalo. That's what they had, right? Plus, this was like 200 years ago, so who cares? They're not doing it now. Move on, right? I have issues with people who bring up the past and go, one, either that didn't happen, right? They're like the Confederate versus the Union. They're saying that wasn't as big a war as what we make it out to be. Really? Because I'm pretty sure when I was growing up, it was in my history books. But now they're saying it didn't happen. It wasn't as bad as what we make it out to be. And that the Indians are, that was abhorrent that they would kill buffalo. Just what they had. Roy says, we have trouble with toads, wild pigs, and rabbits, but cats are not allowed near national parks. Birds and cats sounds like fertilizer. So, funny story. I raised my kids on a mountain. Okay, a lot of you know that. And my nearest neighbor was 1.5 miles away. Okay, so we were like out in the middle of nowhere. And we were on not one, but 2 blind sections, which means the road, you had to go around a full section of land, which is a mile square. So you came up, you turned, you went a mile, you went a mile, you went a mile to get back. Okay. And so one day, the kids and I are home, and these piglets appear in my yard. Now, when I say piglets, these things were probably, I don't know, they were probably, what, 2.5 feet tall, maybe 2 feet tall, maybe. They weren't full grown, okay, but they weren't like little babies. They're kind of like teenagers, okay. And there was 5 of them, and within a matter of just a few hours, they had torn up the entire yard. I had 40 acres, and I kept about 2 acres mowed, and they had torn up the entire 2 acres. Okay, I mean, you look outside and it's really bad. So in order to scare them off, I just stepped outside and I shot off a shotgun up into the air. And they didn't even look up. Didn't faze them in the least. So I called the game warden. They don't come out for hogs. Okay, they call them wild boars, I think. Well, they don't come out for boars, and there is no hunting season. It's open season because I guess they're a problem, which I didn't know any of this. And so he just told me to shoot them. Okay. Well, Sly thinks one step further. I could shoot them, but then what do I do with the carcasses? Because I probably can't lift one of these things. Okay? Now, at this point, it never occurred to me to think about where Mama was. And mamas can get up to 400 pounds of mad. Okay? So I call a buddy of mine, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll come out." He said, "Don't shoot him or anything, because I want to take one for make bacon out of." Knock yourself out, buddy. Whatever you want to do, don't care, as long as you do it somewhere else, right? So he comes out, and he's completely drunk, and he has a rifle with a scope. Now, I don't know if any of you guys like to shoot, but when you're trying to hit something pretty close to you, scope is not the way to go. I'm just saying. And so he leans up against something, and he tries to set his scope on this thing and shoot it. Well, I think he might have winged it or something. Anyway, this thing takes off, yip, 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 into the woods. Okay. Again, no sign of Mama. Which, thank you, Jesus, you were looking out for stupid people. Well, I take my shotgun, and I just kind of shoot in the general direction. Because I don't really want to kill these things. I want them to run back into the woods and go away. Right? They never even look up. They just keep rooting around. Well, one of them turns and starts rooting around over here and then drops over dead. So apparently I hit it and didn't know it. So now I have one carcass. The drunk friend, it did end up hitting one. And then the other... we ended up getting rid of 3 bodies, and 2 of them ran off into the woods. But never did see Mama. Thank you, Jesus. And now we had to figure out how to get rid of these bodies, because he decided that he didn't want to go through all the trouble of having to prep these things so he could have his bacon and ham or whatever. And that they were probably too big and the meat would be too tough anyway. Okay, whatever, dude. How are we going to get rid of the bodies? See, anytime you want to hunt something, you got to do something with that body. And so he ended up helping me, and we got him in the truck, and I had what I called the south pasture, which there was like a little natural bridge. It was like, there was like a creek that came down, emptied into a pond, but there was a natural bridge that went over it. And so you could drive to the south pasture. And so we ended up taking them down there and throwing them out. I guess the coyotes ate them, but never saw them. So that was my experience with wild pigs. Yeah. I'm okay with living 5 minutes from a grocery store. Yeah. Peter says, I'm very attracted to air fryer cooking. My new boys and their toys gadgets. Sammy knew how to use it. Yeah, I think more young guys use the air fryer because, number one, you can burn stuff in it, but you have to work at it. Like, you would have to put it in there and leave it forever and ever, because you can put stuff in and it doesn't overcook it within like a minute. It takes a little bit. So I think for these young guys who don't know how to cook, and for these old ladies who don't know how to cook, the air fryer is a wonderful thing, because if you do go a few minutes over, you haven't ruined your food. So I love my air fryer. Plus, you can just put it in there and you turn it on, and it's great. It's great. Did I miss that one? Maybe I did. Peter says, tomorrow is new heater day. Yeah, it's in my truck. It's already in my truck. Um, we're just, he's coming down. So I ordered legs, because you can put these things, you can either wall mount them or put them on legs. And they came in Wednesday, but I didn't look at them till today, and one of them was already broken. So I'm going to build a frame out of 2x4s so we can wall mount it, and then we'll just screw that to the floor. Because I'm really kind of worried about that one tipping, especially with it just being on legs. You know, occasionally I have a 4-year-old that likes to run circles in the kitchen, and I don't want him getting anywhere near, because these things get hot. So, Roy says, steam engines are so photogenic. Yes, they are. And I like steam engines. I'm a huge Thomas the Tank Engine fan. I know all the little engines. I know the engines from 30 years ago because my son was into Thomas the Tank Engine. Now that my grandson's coming on, there's a whole new list of characters, and I don't know any of them. I'm learning them, but I don't know them yet. Roy says it snows for a couple of weeks each winter here, but only in the highest mountains. So you must be pretty close to the equator on the southern side. You know, I'm really getting more curious and more curious about Australia. Not yellow snow, I hope. I paid $83 for gas and electricity last month. Yeah, well, normally, if I don't use anything, like in the fall and in the spring, we have several weeks where you don't use anything. It's still $90 for gas and electric. So the minimum is 50 and 40. So Scott says 34 degrees right now. Your weather is crazy down there. Combined electric and Combined electric and natural gas costs run below $2.50 normally. So yeah, and I'm good with that. You know, if it's around $2.50 to keep me warm, I'm perfectly okay with that. That's but if it gets up around $600, that's a little, that's eating into my toy money. And Roy says, strange, but Australia has the world's most feral camels. Okay. Camels? Really? We've gone from wild cats to feral camels? You just never know what conversation is going to come up on these Friday night things. Because camels can be quite mean. I'm just saying. I've never had a camel. I don't want a camel. But from what I understand, they can be quite mean. So, watch out for the camel. That's Scott says, I'm not a lefty by any means, but I don't think I could kill a cat. I guess if they were causing terrible damage to me, I don't know. I'm glad I don't have to make that decision. Right? That's, you know, I'm feeding. Now, all of these cats that I'm feeding, I don't think any of them are house cats because you can't get near them. So I know the two that have lived here for 7 or 8 years, occasionally, if I sit perfectly still for long enough, one of them will come up to me. But they're definitely, I wouldn't say they're like wild feral, but they won't tolerate any other human. So yeah, they're feral. But the 3 that have appeared, they won't let me anywhere near them. You know, they'll stand out at the edge of the porch until I've gone back inside. So, but it's annoying because they keep setting my alarms off because they're walking around the house so much. So, yeah, it's annoying. But yeah, Scott, I'm with you. Um, I think I would trap and release before I would be able to shoot one. So, Randy says I avoided what my parents did by walking to school uphill and going home uphill. Also, I was bussed. Yes, that's so. There's a saying that uh, everyone our age has heard because our parents used to say this, that they had to walk uphill both ways to school in the snow. And as children, we didn't work out that you can't walk uphill both ways. But, you know. Roy says, wild pigs turn water holes into mud traps. Yeah, so I found out that Oklahoma has a problem with wild boars, which is why there's no hunting season. It's open season all year long. Um, and apparently they, not only do they destroy property, but apparently if you get too many of them, they upset the ecosystem. So that's why there's open season. Teenage pig, scary thought. Probably tasty and a good freezer filler. I don't know if they would be or not, to be honest with you. I don't know if they'd be gamey like a deer. I have a feeling they might be. I don't like deer meat because it's gamey. Roy says, barbecue piggies. Well, that was where I thought my friend who came up to help me was going with it. And then he decided he didn't want to do all that work. Scott says, drinking and guns, not a good combination. No, this was bless his heart, this was my nearest neighbor, a mile and a half away. And he was an alcoholic. He was an Indian, and he was alcoholic. And as soon as he wakes up in the morning, he would start drinking beer and drink beer until he went to sleep. And he could function if he just stuck with the beer. But if he started drinking hard liquor, it was all over. And he ended up dying from what do you call it? His liver failed. But they call it something. Now I can't remember what it's called. Something ptosis. Anyway, it was a horribly painful death, and I really, I really thought with both my kids being exposed to that, seeing him go through that neither one would want to ever drink because they were pretty young, and then they both at one time they were both bartenders. So, yeah, go figure. Who knows? Roy says cruel to let wounded animals run off. Yes, I agree. The two that got away were not wounded. So apparently if you hit a hog, they die. Al says I got an ant pig. An ant pig? That's funny. Susan says I will never forget the buzzards that were in your barn. I think they were 3 feet tall. I'm 5'9", and didn't want any part of them. Yeah, well, critters seem to be drawn to me. Roy says they dressed up that puffing Billy train as Thomas for too long. Yeah, it was kind of a letdown, shall you say, that when I took my son to see Thomas, that he didn't actually talk. Because they watch these things on the television, and Thomas is supposed to talk. And then you go see Thomas in real life, and Thomas doesn't talk. And so that was kind of a letdown. I remember him being really let down by that. But we took him to a place called Casey's Train Village, and they had a life-size steam engine, and he got to go up in that. And you know, those things are like huge, ginormously huge. And so the guy that ran the place let him pull the levers, and so that made up for the fact that Thomas didn't talk. So yeah. Roy says we don't usually get electric bills. We have solar panels. So they've really, really been pushing solar panels here. I don't know. I don't know how much sun you have to have. I mean, I would think by the name solar panels, you would have to have a fair amount. And right now we don't. So if it hasn't been raining, it has been overcast for, it seems like forever. I know when I first got the Osmo 4, I kept waiting for a nice day to go out and make a comparison video. And finally, I just had to say, look, this is the best we're going to get for a while. And it was overcast. I think I got rained on a little bit. And I don't think we've had a sunny day in how long? Kyle, Susan, how long has it been since we've had a nice sunny day? I think it's been a minute. Roy says, yes, camels. Camels steak, anyone? Wild pig is a dark meat. Okay. Well, that's not bad. Uncle G's here. Happy weekend, everyone. Just got back from a hockey game with some friends. Hope everyone's doing well. So, how did it go? Did any fights break out? Did you have a good time? Roy says hepatitis. It wasn't hepatitis. Gee, what what did Robert die from? Cirrhosis of the liver. Cirrhosis. Yes. Thank you. Sorry. I had a senior moment and I couldn't remember. Roy says, I'd love to animate the face of a Thomas on a full-size train. Right? Yeah, they really should do that for these little kids. Roy says, any camera works well in sunshine. Better to test in low light. Well, that's what I ended up doing because there was no sunshine to speak of. And it came out okay. I honestly, I think if you compare the original to the 4, obviously the 4 looks a little bit better. If you don't have that comparison to make, I think the original it holds its own. I think it still looks just fine. So, you can buy 2 originals for the price of one 4, Osmo 4. So, yeah, I probably would go back to the original. Now, obviously, I'm going to keep the 4 because I have it, but I just, man, these originals are hard to beat. This is a fantastic starter camera, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say for $150 versus $400, especially if you're not going to compare them side by side, you would never know that the 4 was better if you didn't have a 4, right? And I think these do perfectly acceptable. So, yeah, that's just my take on it. I'll probably make another video on it. But guys, we're slowly approaching 2 hours. Wow, I didn't realize that. So I love you guys. Thank you so much for joining me and coming in. And Scott, I hope you can go back to sleep. Gee, I hope you can go to sleep because you said you were going to get up and do something on the car in the morning. And then I've got a full day's worth of work for you down here. But yeah, we will do this again next week. We've got some more bags coming in. I think I made a video today to drop tomorrow about a bag. It's a little bitty thing. Little bitty thing. Roy, you'll hate it. It's a little bitty thing. But yeah, it is starting to get a little chilly in here. So hopefully the second heater will be enough that they can join forces and keep the whole house warm. But I love you guys, and I will update you next week. And everybody have a fantastic week. Enjoy your weekend, and we will catch you later. Good night, everybody.